Hello, welcome back to Prophecy 23. Today I'm going to be sharing a story with you that took place around 1979, 1980. I was around 7, 8 years old at this time. We lived in a place, well, let me back up. My dad was a police officer for, most of my life. And at this point in time, he hadn't been a police officer for very long. He didn't make a whole lot of money, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She took care of me and my sister, and so we didn't have a lot of money growing up. My dad, somehow or another, I don't know, word of mouth or whatever, we'd moved around quite a bit from, time I was a toddler, up until this point. Mainly because, we just couldn't afford to live in certain places, so at some point my dad had met a father of a church, and they, said, hey, I got a rent house, it's right next to, the church, if you guys would be interested in, renting it. And so, my dad checked it out and liked it, and we moved in shortly after, and everything was really good. It was a really nice little wood frame house, little white wood frame house, and, it was just, really nice little place to live. Well, to understand the layout of this house, I'll try to explain it. I'm in my car filming because it's really, really cold outside, and it's really windy, and in my house, my children are there, and they're playing and crazy loud, and, so I hope you guys understand. And also, I'm not good at editing. I'm not a good YouTuber. I'm just kind of making this to leave behind for my children to watch, but I'm also trying to build a channel, so, I mean, it is what it is. I'll get better as I learn, I just don't really know how to do a lot of this stuff, so I'm trying. And also at the end or throughout this video, I'm going to try to splice in or leave at the end of the video pictures of this place so you guys can get a really good idea of what I'm talking about. But anyway, to understand this house, like I said, it was just a little white wood-framed house that had it was like a 3-bedroom home. It could have been 4 bedrooms, but the 4th bedroom was back behind where the kitchen was at, and my dad used that as like a reloading room and kept all his firearms and stuff like that in there. So to understand, if you went into the, walk up on the porch, you'd be facing the front door. To your left was another door that was always locked. It was always kept locked and shut, because that was the small room that was my sister's room. She was, 3 years old, 4 years old or so, and that was her, room right there. But, we always went through the front door, the main door, and as you walk in, you would walk into the living room. To your right would be the dining area, and then right behind that was the kitchen, and then right to the left was the den. And then you go through the living room, through a little door, through a hallway, and my room is the very far back room. And then right up next to my room was the bathroom. And then if you keep going forward was my mom and dad's room. And through my mom and dad's room, if you went, there was a door, you could open it, and it would go in my sister's room. Okay. And in my bedroom, my bed set up against the wall. Right to my right was a window, and right behind me was like 2 windows that were like next to each other like this right here. And then to my left, I had another window, and directly ahead was my closet. And right next to my window, I had like this little tall desk shelf thing that they kept my toys on and, stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of the general layout of the house. And like I say, it was maybe 100 feet or so from the church. The church kind of goes a long ways. It faces one road. In fact, I've got notes here. The road that it faces is FM 1641. The road that it is on is County Road 213. And this is in Forney, Texas, or Talty. It's just, it's a little sub-community called Talty. And I think at one time it was the Irish Ridge Catholic community or something. The church was built in 1891. I guess they had a fire, and it was rebuilt in 1929. So the church sat here facing the road, and then maybe 100 feet away or so, the house was there. now the house isn't there anymore. It's just a big open driveway now. They tore the house down, and I'll get to that here in a minute. Why, what happened with that. So anyway, we move in. Everything was great. My dad would go to work. He worked really late, and he'd be home really early in the mornings, and everything was good. One day, my mom was in my room. She was in my room, telling me something or doing something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And my sister was in her room in her little playpen. And so my mom leaves my room, and she goes out, takes a left, goes into the living room to go through the door that was by the front door, not on the outside, on the inside. There's like a door that go through into my sister's room. So she goes out my room, goes into the living room, and I hear her screaming and freaking out, and I jump up and I run in there, and she says, big, huge black panther, like a big black cat, huge panther, just ran in my sister's room, and, she's freaking out, and, she's like, looks in there, and, there's nothing there, and, I kind of, I go and look at my sister. She's laying down in her, playpen, thing, and just, napping or whatever, and there was nothing there. And so, like, what in the world, my mom was just completely, flipped out about it. And so my dad come home, and my dad, now he strongly believes in the paranormal, or he did. He believed in the paranormal. He, had many encounters of his own, seen many things. So it wasn't something that he didn't believe in, or, he didn't believe her. But, she told him what she saw, and he was just like, okay, well, I mean, what can I do? He looked and he's like, okay, and that was that. So that went by. And then, I don't know, a month or so later, I had on my shelf, like I told you by the window, I had a bunch of big, tall G.I. Joe men and some of my really nice, action figures and stuff there. And I had a bunch of Star Wars stuff. And one of the things I had was a little R2-D2, remote control R2-D2 that would, make sounds and stuff and go back and forth when you push the button. And, I never kept batteries in it. I was a kid that took stuff apart and everything. So, if I could get my hands on batteries, I was always taking other things apart and using the batteries to, make things out of that. So it never had batteries. So it was more just like a decoration piece that I would have, set up there with my other action figures and everything. And one night, my dad was off work. He was sleeping. It was, 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And I wake up to this R2-D2 flipping out, making its R2-D2 noises and kind of, moving back and forth and acting crazy and really sporadic, and I'm like, screaming, hollering, and my dad comes in there and he's like, what's going on? I told him, and it was still like making noise, and he picks it up. As soon as he picks it up, it stops making noise, and he says, it's okay. It was probably a semi truck that went by, and the CB radio interference caused it to, to do this. So I told him, Dad, it has no batteries in it. How's it going to do that? So he says, he looks at it and examines. He's like, wow, this is weird. And he realized, okay, maybe there is something going on in this house. So, he just kind of leaves it at that and keeping his eye and his ears out for, strange things to happen. Well, some time goes by. I don't know exactly how much, but some time goes by, and I'm woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning to my dad's voice. I'm hearing my dad call my name and shaking me and waking me up, and wake up and my light's on in my room, and my dad is frantic, and he's like, what is going on? What happened? He keeps asking me, what happened? Who did this to you? What happened? And I'm like, I don't know what happened. What is going on? And it's like, as soon as I came to, I realized the side of my head was pounding. It was hurting really, really, really bad. And my dad explains to me that there was a hammer, not his hammer, don't know where it came from, hammer laying on my floor. My mom had been knocked out, and I was knocked out, apparently. at some point through the night. You know, we were probably asleep, and my dad was at work, and we were there by ourselves, and something or someone hit us in the head. You know, thing about it is, this old house had been painted over so many times that most of the windows didn't even open. I mean, if you tried to open them, you'd have to, you know, really tear the frame apart to get it open. They were just been painted over so much, and no signs of forced entry anywhere. The doors were locked. There's no signs of the doors being locked. And of course, my dad being a police officer, him and his buddies, you know, they examined the hammer. No fingerprints could be found. Nothing. It was like it was completely locked clean. So that really like set him on the edge. He was really starting to kind of, you know, think about moving or whatever. I know they talked about it, you know, at that point. And that goes by for a little while. And now we're leading up to the meat and potatoes of the story, the part that is going to freak everybody out. One night I was playing, you know, with my toys on the floor, and it was right before bedtime, an hour before bedtime or so, and I don't know exactly what it was. I didn't hear anything. It was just something kind of got my attention to look out the window that was, you know, beside the desk where I've got my toys and stuff. So I kind of, you know, pull myself up, climb up there, and I pull the curtain back. And as soon as I pull the curtain back, first let me say, there's an old Chinese elm tree that grows just 1.5 feet or so away from the window of the house. And you would think, okay, you know, you pull the curtain back, you got the light on, you pull the curtain back, and you're gonna see that tree. No, that's not what I saw. Standing in front of the tree, right there by the window, was a figure that was approximately 6 foot tall. Slick, like frog-type skin, all gray colored, slick, really sullen, tight to its skeletal structure, its bones. It was just like skin and bones, basically. It had no nose ridge, and it just had 2 slits for a nose, just completely flat, you know, with 2 slits, no ears, completely smooth, slick-looking head, or at least I didn't notice any ears. And its eyes were like that of the chameleon, how they kind of conical comes out, you know, like that. And as soon as I saw it, you would think, you know, somebody my age would just freak out and scream and holler and everything, but that wasn't the case. For some reason, when I saw this, I felt a sense of calmness and a sense of it wasn't there to hurt me. You know, it was something friendly, at least kind of the impression I got anyway. So I would stare at it and look at it, and the only movement that it would make, aside from every now and then you might see its chest move, it wasn't like it was breathing. It was just like you'd see kind of its chest move slightly, but its eyes would flick and look down at me real quick and then look back up. It would look over, and it was just super fast, just real quick. It was always just like looking at me. Now, I've researched and I know quite a bit about telepathy and about you know, psychics and about speaking to the mind or whatever. And when I say this thing communicated to me, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like a voice in my mind. It wasn't like a, you know, telepathy of any kind. It was like a feeling. It more of like an emotional feeling, and it's kind of how it communicated. So, you know, throughout the week or so, you know, I would just like open my window and look at it for a little bit, and then shut it and go back doing you know, what I was doing and playing or whatever. And I do remember at one point that I went and told my dad about it, and he was preoccupied at the time, or, you know, just for some reason it didn't click with him. He didn't really, you know, he's just like, you know, okay, you know, it's probably nothing, don't worry about it, whatever. Even though he was still on very much of an edge about everything going on. You know, I think he was just really preoccupied, you know, looking back on it. He didn't really care too much about what I was saying. So I didn't say anything else about it. I just, you know, kept it to myself, and I would look at it. Well, one day, one of my buddies wanted to spend the night with me, one of my school friends. So, you know, he came and spent the night, and it was right before bedtime, and we'd been playing all day and having fun and messing around, and right before bedtime, and I said, hey, you want to see something really cool? He's like, yeah. I said, come check this out. So I climb up there and I pull the curtain back, and there he is, standing there. Well, instead of being calm like I was, he flipped out. He completely lost it. He started screaming and hollering, and my dad comes running in, and he, because he thought maybe we were in a fight or I'd done something to him or he got hurt, and he had no idea. And he comes running in, and he's like, what happened? What'd you do? And my friend's like, no, there's something out the window. There's something. As soon as he said that, I said, I see, Daddy. I told you, Daddy. I told you it was there, And my dad's like looking at me, kind of, disgruntled, kind of, looking at me. And he goes and he opens the curtain, and there it is, standing there. And at this point in time, I'd never seen the expression on my dad's face like this before, and my dad turned just pale. And he looks at it for a second or two, and he looks down at me, and he says, son, I don't want you to ever look at this again. Don't ever look at it again. And when he told me that, and the look on his face, it sent just this shock of cold fear to my core. I'd never felt fear like that in my life. Just like a life and death type fear. And I was just horrified, when he told me. And we ended up sleeping on a couch that night, just, he went home, early in the morning, and my dad and mom really started talking about moving out after that. They were kind of done with the place. So we ended up moving out and moved to East Texas. And I'll pause right here to tell you more information about this, because I don't think I said this at the beginning of the video, but this is the St. Martin's Catholic Church in Talty. And that's where this took place. I apologize for that. I should have probably said that at the beginning of the video, but anyway, so we moved to East Texas, and my dad would not talk about it. I remember as a teenager, I brought it up a couple times, and he would not talk about it. He didn't want to say nothing about it. And it was up until I was in my 20s that he finally would talk about it, and he told me that it scared him like nothing he'd ever seen before, like seeing the devil himself. It just paralyzing fear, and that he really kind of worries about it. He thinks it's something that could get us at any time. He just had a really bad feeling. He said the feeling he got from it was like the same meant to do us harm. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So life goes by. I'm in my 20s at this time, and I got with this girl we were dating. We dated for a couple of years, and I told her about it, and she wanted to see it. She wanted to go check the place out. So me, her, and her brother, we drive, and it was a long ways, and we lived about 40, 50 miles away at this time. So it was kind of a day trip for us. We drove, and we drove by and didn't get out and didn't look, mess around or anything. We just kind of drove by the place, and I pointed it out, and we went by, and then I turned around, and as I'm leaving out, because the church faces this way, the road's like this, and then there's the little side road, houses behind the church, and we're coming up to the stop sign. We're not quite there, a couple hundred feet or so, and passing coming up to pass the house, and I kind of look over at the house one last time. As soon as I do, it felt like, without the physical pain, of your body, but it felt like something hit me. And your vision, your perception, and everything, I was knocked through the door of the car, and I could see the ground. Like, I was almost level with the ground. I could see the ground moving. I could see the side of the car, the door. I could see the road. It just, boom, like you're laying completely flat out on the road. And all of a sudden, boom, I snapped back up, and I slammed on the brakes. And my girlfriend's like, what happened? I said, something hit me and knocked me out of my body. I completely was outside the car, and it really rattled me, and she had to drive home because I couldn't do it. It really messed me up. So that happened, and some time goes by. We ended up splitting up, and I ended up moving to another town and hanging out with some different people. And this one guy I was hanging out with, he was into the paranormal stuff, and you know, he liked this kind of stuff, and we got on the subject and started talking, and I ended up telling him the story. And it wasn't that he didn't believe me, but he was really like, wow, this is crazy. And this town was Terrell, Texas. This is actually where I was born at. I was born in Terrell, and then Forney is right next to Terrell, and then Forney is really close to Dallas, Mesquite, Rockwall, that area. If you're familiar, with Dallas and that Terrell in that area, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I was living in Terrell, and this is where, I told the guy about it, and he's like, wow, let's go check it out. Because Terrell's not that far from Forney, 10 or 12 miles away. And I said, okay, let's go. So we drive, and we pull into the parking lot, and as soon as the parking place of the house, it was kind of to the side of the house, so we pull up, and as soon as I pulled up, I could tell that it looked like they're about to tear the house down. You could clearly tell that the walls inside, they were tearing the walls out, and there's a lot of construction stuff going on. So I was like, oh man, this kind of sucks, our place is going to be tore down. And we get out, and we walk, and we look through the window, and you could like look through one window and see all the way through the other window. They had pretty much gutted the inside. There was only a couple of walls here and there, like holding the roof up, and they were just tearing it all to pieces. So I said, let's go, and I'll show you the room where I was at, and I'll show you the tree. I figured they were going to cut the tree down, which they did. I said, let's go to the tree. I'll show you the tree where the thing was standing in front of. You'll see how close it was and everything. He's like, okay. And so we go back, behind the house, and we go, and I show him the tree and show him. He's like, yeah, he's like, I don't really feel anything. I really don't know if he was even sensitive to it, but he pretended like he was. He's like, I don't feel anything. I don't think there's anything here really, I don't see, it just feels normal to me. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, but it happened. And he's like, okay, So I break a tree limb off because I wanted a souvenir to keep with me. So I broke a limb off the tree to take with me. And so we turned, and we're walking back to the car to leave. And as we are, through the kitchen, if you were in the kitchen, there was a little side door you go, and that was where the washroom was, and the dryer, little utility room, where your washer and dryer is. And then if you go in there were two doors. There was one that would go to the outside, and one that you could come from the outside of the house and go up to it. Both of them had like the little 3 concrete steps that went down. And so we're walking, and we're going, and right at when we got to the outside of that utility room, there's a little outside lot, like a little, light, porch light, whatever. And walking, and the light comes on. I knew instantly when the light came on that there's no power in this house. The meter has been pulled. They're gutting the house. There's no power in this house. It took him a couple seconds to realize it, though. And I'm looking at him like, told you. He looks at me, and he's freaking out. He's like, wow, there's no power in this house. I said, I told you. I said, it's telling me hi. I believe you now. He completely believed me. So we left. We go back, and that become like the talk that week. We just talked about it. Well, there's these other 2 women that I knew. They were really into parapsychology and demonology and all of this stuff. So they wanted to check it out. They wanted to see. So maybe this, a week or 2 after I shown him, we drive, and we go out there, and when we pull up, the house is gone. The only thing that's left is the floor of the house, the whole floor. There's still steps that went up to get onto the porch, and it was just the whole bare floor structure of the house. You could see where the walls used to be, the layout, but the house is gone. They completely tore it down. They cut the tree down, and right now it's just the parking lot. And the pictures that I'm going to share at the end of the video, you'll see it's just a parking lot that's left of this place. So I'm kind of sad and bummed out, and I woke up, and we get up there, and the 2 women that I'm showing, they're telling me that their senses are off the chart. They're feeling some major activity, that this place has got a lot of, like, I don't know, energy, spiritual energy. And I walk, and I'm kind of showing them the layout of the place. And now, to keep in mind, I'm like 27, 28 years old at this time, something like that. I go back to where my bedroom used to be, and I'm showing them, the layout. And I go to where my closet once was, and you could clearly see the back part of the wall of the closet. And I go and I look down into the hole where the wall's at, and inside that hole is a heart that had been laminated. And the thing about this is, I specifically remember making this in like first grade, and it was made for Valentine's Day for our mom. We drew these little hearts, and you gotta, I'm 50 years old. If you are my age or so, you kind of remember, back in the day, getting something laminated was a big deal, and so it was really cool. We drew these little hearts and cut them out, have them laminated, and we gave them to our mom for Valentine's. This heart was down inside that hole, and I picked it up, and I still got it to this day. I guess I should have prepared for the video better. All of it, I still have it. I still got the limb. It's just packed up somewhere. I can't find it. Maybe one day if I find it, I'll add a little extra, to the video to show it. But I still got that. I remember making it, and it was like a message to me saying, goodbye, old friend, or, whatever. And they really were like, wow, this is crazy. So we left, and that was that. The house was tore down, and parking lot was put in, and I didn't really go back or think too much about it. Well, a little while goes by, a few years or so go by, and I was hanging out with some people, and because I play guitar, went to lots of parties and play guitar, and just did the music thing for a while. And I happened to be at this party. The guy that owned the house, I knew his name was Jason. That's all I knew. But he owned the house, but he wasn't home. But he had a lot of people there partying. So we're hanging out, and there's one guy that had his drum set there, and there's some guitars there, and they're like, let's jam. And so I played with them. He drummed, and I played guitar for a little bit. And I'm sitting there playing the guitar, and the door comes in, and I hear a bunch of people talking, and the guy that owns the place, he comes walking in, and as soon as I seen him, I'm like, hey, I know you. I went to school with this guy. From like elementary school all the way up to high school. I knew him really well, and he's like, hey, what's up, and we like, reunited, and he's like, man, this is crazy, I haven't seen him in years and years, and, here I am at his party at his house, and so he's really happy to see me. He played guitar too, and we like jammed together and everything. And he tells me that his girlfriend is an artist. She paints big murals and does all kinds of cool paintings and stuff. And so he's like, hey, come to her art room and check out the mural that she's painted. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we go back there and go into the room, and as soon as I walk in and look on the wall, there's this tree painted on the wall, and right in front of that tree is the thing that I saw as a kid. And as soon as I saw it, I kind of fell to my knees. I'm like, wow, you got to tell me the story of this. And I explained to him, this is something I saw as a kid, kind of briefly explained to him, and he kind of started freaking out. And he said, well, this is something that she's always seen in her life. It comes to her in her dreams and stuff, and she drew it, or painted it on the wall. And I'm like, I don't know what to think about it. It was really, really crazy. And since then, I've talked to, a couple of people that have said that they have seen things in their dreams that, look a lot like what I described. So, that's that. That's my encounter. And I've shared this with a couple of different people in videos on their YouTube channels. And, so I figured I'll make it for my own and put it out there. Like I say, I'm doing this more to leave something behind for my children to watch, but also trying to build my YouTube channel up. Like I say, I suck at it. If you can't tell, can't edit very good. I'm not good. I'm not good in front of a camera. I haven't got, the camera shyness out yet. So I'm working on it. I'm trying. And so, try to be patient with me. Hopefully I can grow this channel, but if not, I'm just leaving this behind, for my kids to watch. So, but if you get something out of it, you enjoy it, I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. And if you happen to go to this place or see this place, and have any kind of feelings or experience, you know, leave them in the comments. If you know about this place, leave it in the comments. I would like to know, you know, your feelings about it, and, you know, what, if anything has happened. And, you know, I think that'll be that. And like I say, I'll go ahead and tell you the address again is 9470 County Road 213. It's Talty, Texas, and it's the St. Martin's Catholic Church. So, and also I'd like to say too that I'm not saying anything bad about the church. I don't want the church to get mad at me about this. This is just simply something that happened to me as a child. These were experiences that happened through my life. It's unrelated to the church, to the people there, nothing. So I'm not dissing the church. I'm not saying anything bad. I don't know where this thing came from, if it has anything to do with the church, or if it does. I don't know. So I don't want church people to get mad at me. I have a lot of respect for all the, you know, Catholic people out there that, you know, help people and do stuff. So, you know, I'm not dissing on them. So please don't take that, you know, like that. It's just, I'm sharing my experience. So, again, thank you guys for watching my videos, and I'm going to wrap it up.